my name is Charles Jenkins. I'm the president. I'm the president of the Coalition of Black Trade Unions New York chapter. And this is what solidarity looks like, right here. This here weekend, we called an emergency meeting, and you turned out in 2 days. I want to go down memory lane for a minute, why this is so important. In 1980, when the pilots went on strike, Paco, that was the worst, the air traffic controllers, brothers and sisters. That was one of the worst attacks against workers that President Ronald Reagan came in this here country against workers. And since then, we've been fighting and fighting, so we're so glad on this evening to have solidarity from our brothers and sisters from the airline. Because it doesn't matter what trade you come from. We're all united because we're all workers. Now watch this. In 2020, they began to call us essential workers. And we are. But we're essential whether we're on the job or whether we're home sick. And so if we're essential, we demand sick time. We demand sick pay. And so that's what this here solidarity is about. It's about being essential. It's about being important to move the goods around this here country, to move transportation around this country. And we do it because we are a workforce that's professional, and we demand to be treated respectfully when we get sick doing our jobs. And so, on this here evening, we call all the way to the White House. That is betrayal to workers to say you're for us, but you don't give us what we need. What do we need? What do we need? What do we need? And if we don't get it, and if we don't get it, and if we don't get it, so this is what solidarity looks like. It's saying to the railroad workers, we got your back. It's saying to the railroad workers, we understand when you give your labor and you get sick, that you should still have a paycheck that equals if you was on the job. That's what this is about. That's what this solidarity is about, brothers and sisters. And so what I would like to do is bring before us the airline. Somebody that's coming over here on behalf of our airline workers. Brian is going to come and give us some words of solidarity. This is a huge statement from the airline division, Brother Brian.
Good evening, everyone. We did not know we were going to be speaking tonight, so we'll keep this short. I am Brian, and I am with my fellow brothers and sisters from SWAPA, Southwest Airlines Pilots Association. We're here to stand with you in a show of support so that you understand that as another work group, another labor group, under the Railway Labor Act, we see what's happening. We support you. We want you to get what you need to get and get where you need to be. And know that you are not alone. We are watching and we support you. Thank you.
This ain't no one guy. This is people. This is power. This is what stands behind the railroad workers when we talk. All right. Good evening. Thank you all for coming out. I truly appreciate the support from the pilots, each and every one of you. Metro North, our conductors. I see CSCA up here. Local 100 is here. Local 456 is here. Who else is out here? Workers Assembly Against Racism is here. DSA seems to be here. We got Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers is here. CSCA, I think I said them already. But let me tell you this. I've seen a lot of things. This is the most criminal thing I've seen in a long time. That in a post-pandemic environment, that someone thought that it made sense that our government that has billions of dollars for Ukraine and everybody else, saw fit to send workers back to work without one paid sick day. That's a travesty. Now I'm gonna tell you something, because I'm gonna say some little things that might be considered somewhat controversial, but I think sometimes it's essential that workers take a strong position. It is my position that their union has failed them. And it is my position that sometimes the workers have to take things into their own hands and make a strong stand. And I'm gonna tell you something else. See my brothers from the airlines? If we had a general strike, you know they're not flying. You know American ain't flying. United ain't flying, because all of them is catching hell. They don't have a worker in America today that's not catching hell. And that we have a government, and let me tell you something, it's a flim-flam. That's the reason why they separated the two bills. The one bill sends them back to work. The other bill contains the sick days, because they knew the sick days were going to fail. It's a flim-flam. And when you recognize you've been a part of a flim-flam, then you got to do something. And these workers need to take things into their own hands. Let me tell you something, we flipped Metro North upside down to get sick days. Now these young cats don't know the history, but that's what we had to do. And we went against the order. We went against the union order, we went against the company order, the governor's order, and we ended up with sick days. If these workers strike one day, it's $2 billion. If they gave them 7 6 days, it's $350 million. Now tell me what economically makes sense to the system. We have to do something different. We have to demand something different. And that's why workers are deserting these parties. They keep looking to the left, they're looking to the right, they can't figure it out, but they know one thing, they're getting screwed, and they're getting screwed by both of them. And this was the most visible screwing that the workers have got, because now we got, you know, Facebook and Instagram, and we can see things that we couldn't see 50 years ago. So my word to you, brothers and sisters, I'm sorry to take so much time, is that we have to call on our brothers, and we got their back. They stop, we stop. They stop, we stop. They stop, we stop.
Larry Holmes from Workers' Assembly Against Racism. Let's hear it for Comrade Larry Holmes.
Comrades and friends, this is a teaching moment for all of us, that we could have this kind of rally on 24, 48 hours notice in support of the railroad workers. That says something. That says something. That's a good sign for solidarity. And we got to go back to school about solidarity. Because if we can do this in 2 days, we can get thousands of people out of here. You know this issue of the human right to paid sick leave? There's no bigger issue. Every union's fighting for it. All the strikes are about it. If you want to organize a general strike, the big issue that could probably do that would be the right to pay sick leave. But we also have to tell the truth. Any government, White House, Congress, who tells workers you cannot strike, who takes their most potent weapon away from them, this is a reactionary, anti-worker government, whether Democrat or Republican. And I think it was Charles Dickens just a few minutes ago who reminded us what Ronald Reagan did a little more than 40 years ago. Busted black girl. This is no different. This is no different. It's the same. And so I'm going to sum it up by saying, we need the ears of the labor movement at all echelons. The rank and file, easy to talk to them because they're like us. But the leaders, you need to get out of the pocket of the Democratic Party. When you get out of their pocket, then you'll be with the militants, with rank and file workers. And what you'll do is start fighting the class struggle. And you're going to get a lot more done for workers doing that than being tied to the Democratic Party.
That's right.
On to 2023, we're going to teach, learn, and appeal to people for worker solidarity. And you're going to see things that you haven't seen in a long, long time.
Sick days are human right. I can't hear you. Sick days are human right. 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 I want to bring up from Cuba C, one of our comrades, Nahan.
Thank you. I'm also a retired locomotive engineer for Amtrak, proud member of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen. I'm sorry for the sexist nomenclature. Maybe they'll change that one day. Which is the division of the Teamsters Union, and also a member of Railroad Workers United, which is having rallies like this all over the United States and has been in the forefront of fighting against this rotten contract that was imposed upon us. I'm retired now about 5-6 years. I ran high-speed trains up and down the Northwest Corridor, but I also worked in freight. And I can tell you, when I was working, the conditions were pretty bad. I was on the extra board for 10 years, on call, all the things. Today, they're much, much worse. Much, much worse. If you look at in the post-pandemic period, they have eroded over many, many decades the rights that workers had fought for. Sizable crews, enough to be safe, and so on. They've chipped away at that, and now they're going after, these rights and so on. You know, the Railway Labor Act doesn't actually ban the right to strike. It makes it, though, more or less impossible. This is something that developed over the course of 2 or 3 years. We've been in the bureaucracy, the bureaucratic labyrinth of the federal government. And now, at the end of this process, when the companies would not give, on sick days, the Democratic and Republican parties combined to impose this contract on us. You know, the great Malcolm X used to say that the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is that the Republicans would stick the knife in your back 6 inches and the Democrats would pull it out too. With this settlement, the Democrats and the Republicans stuck the knife in 9 inches and didn't pull it out at all.
That's right.
They determined that it would be cheaper for them to pay a lot of overtime, as long as the people don't die of exhaustion, to give them relatively better than what most of the working class is getting in wages in this wage settlement. Part of the contract that Biden says is so wonderful, it's still behind the rate of inflation. But to them, it's cheaper to do that than to hire more workers. That is the fact. Now, I'm here to show solidarity. Thank you so much. I've probably gone over my time limit. This is very inspiring to see everybody out here together, united, across craft lines. That's what the Railroad Workers United stands for. Let's break down these horrible reactionary craft divisions. Let's unite in one big industrial union on the railroad and in every industry. And in doing that, we'll unite the whole working class. Thank you very much.
Sick understand this. We got your back. Railroad workers, railroad workers, railroad workers, railroad workers, railroad workers, railroad workers, because sick days are human right. Sick days are human right. I want to introduce Comrade Steve Millis from Struggle. Brother Comrade Steve.
Thank you. I spent 31 years in Amtrak in the towers and finally as a dispatcher before I retired. No one should be surprised by President Biden overrunning the democratic decision of 100,000 workers to reject a tentative agreement and force it on them. Amtrak Joe loyally was a loyal servant of the DuPont dynasty while he spent 36 years in the U.S. Senate. He also served the MasterCard, Plaster Card Sharks, who are also based in Maryland.
Delaware.
In Delaware, excuse me. One of the biggest atrocities in U.S. labor has been the loss of over 90% of railroad jobs since 1947. That's over 1.4 million jobs lost. What does that mean? That they were destroyed. Go to Hamlet, North Carolina. That was a big center for the old Seaboard Railroad, which is now part of CSX, and it's still a junction point. It's a yard. Amtrak stops there twice a day because workers couldn't get jobs in the railroad. They got them in a sweatshop called Imperial Food Products, and 25 of them were burned to death on September 3rd, 1991. The owner was such a racist, he locked the doors because he felt the black workers would steal chickens. But both black and white workers were murdered. 49 children were orphaned by racism and by job cuts. That's what we have to fight. You know, President Biden can force workers to take a rotten agreement, but he can't pick up a pen to free 78-year-old Leonard Peltier, a political prisoner and a former leader in the American Indian movement who spent 46 years in jail. That's an atrocity. It's great that we're out here. That's great that we have solidarity, and we have to build it further. We don't have to tolerate a railroad baron like Warren Buffett, who sits on a $109 billion fortune, whose hedge fund, Berkshire Hathaway, owns the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad lock, stock, and barrel. Right on to all the workers here in solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you for that, brother. We're going to keep it. We have some Amazon workers out here. We have some Amazon workers out here. We have some Amazon workers out here. This is cross all. All workers unite. We well know have been struggling to bring home a first contract since they won the right April 1st to unionize right here in this unionized city. But the bosses has continually stayed away from negotiating tables, and the administration that should have been passing a workers' rights laws so that the bosses cannot cripple those that say they want a union. And that's exactly what continues to happen. So I have Justine from the Amazon Union to give us some words of solidarity. Justine, Sister Justine.
Thank you, brother.
What do we want? A union. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? A union. When do we want it?
Now. Thank you, Tristan. Hello, comrades. It's good to see you all. My name's Justine, here with the Amazon Labor Union. It really is, you know, New York is a labor town. It's really great to see all the different sectors, like everyone has been saying, out here today. It's just like the brother was saying, it's the same story everywhere, right? We won our election April 1st, 8 months ago, and the bosses refuse to to recognize Amazon Labor Union, refused to come to the table to negotiate a contract. Just like the railroad workers, oh yeah, shame, shame, shame.
Scumbags!
Yes, they are. They're all scumbags, right? We are also in logistics and delivery, just like the railroad workers. We are the workers that get the people of this country everything that they need. And just like the railroads, without Amazon, this country would shudder and shut down. And that's why the bosses are so afraid of us. They're so afraid of independent worker power. They're afraid of wildcat strikes. They're afraid of workers running their own unions. They're afraid of workers taking back over the AFL-CIO. They're afraid of workers running this country. Because when we come together united like this against sectarianism, against across industries, against these craft unions, we really can win a revolution for this country. We really can win the country that workers deserve. And it's not just about the sick pay, which it is, but it's also about running our own industries, because we know more than these bosses who come in who've never done a day of work in their lives. So that's why we're all out here in solidarity, and that's why we're going to be fighting together to make sure that the railroad workers get what they need, and we're going to be fighting until the workers run this country. Solidarity forever.
Thank you, Sister Justine. Solidarity forever. Solidarity. So we have John from the building trades. John from the building trades is going to come and give us a message of solidarity. John.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Justine and Tristan from the ALU. We were out there with you guys when you had your rally out there. Thank you, and keep fighting, keep fighting. So I'm here from the building trades of New York. So I'm here from the building trades in New York. And why are we here? We're here because of union busting, right? What's union busting? Union busting is disgusting. Union busting is disgusting. Union busting is disgusting, right? So we got the rail companies making an industry that has some of the biggest profits in the United States, $27 billion last year. And we have the rail workers who are exhausted, who have been understaffed for the last 5, 6, 7 years. They've been continually diminishing their workforce. And what they want is just to have some time off. But because of greed and profits, the rail companies will not hire more staff. That's basically what's at issue here. And that's what we have to get the message out. And we're hoping that maybe Transportation Director Pete Buttigieg can look at these exhausted workers and bring up safety measures to force these rail companies to somehow staff more people, because that's what is at issue here, right? That's what's at issue. So what's disgusting?
Union busting!
What's disgusting?
Union busting!
Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Brother Sandal, longtime activist in these here streets. Come on up, brother.
Thank you. My name is Shandor John, and I'm a member of the Faculty Staff Union at the City University of New York. I'm speaking here in a personal capacity. I'm also a supporter of class struggle education workers and the internationalist group, the CUNY Internationalist Clubs. Now, I taught labor history for a lot of years, and a situation like this makes me think about something that one of the great revolutionary figures of unionism and of the revolutionary movement in this country and of labor history, Joe Hill, wrote a long time ago. And he said, when the workers take a notion, they can stop all speeding trains. Every ship upon the ocean, they can bind in iron chains, because that's the power of labor, which is to shut it down. Now, when the president of the capitalist government of the United States, their government, their capitalist government, Joe Biden, right, said that invoking this anti-labor strike-breaking law, the notorious 1926 Railway Labor Act, was necessary because a train workers' strike could paralyze the economy. Well, you're damn right it could. And what he is admitting is he's admitting that the railways and the economy runs on the abuse of workers like them. Without sick days, with dangerous conditions, dying on the job, goddammit, right? But we can bust their union-busting laws, like the National Railway Act, like the Taft-Hartley Act, like the Taylor Law, which makes it supposedly illegal for our brothers and sisters, the transit workers, to go on strike. And it makes it supposedly illegal for us at the City University to go on strike. But we need to get together and bust that union-busting law by shutting it down. Now, shutting it down means the type of power that we see in potential here of the rail workers and the MTA workers and the Teamsters. Am I right? Teamsters got a contract coming up soon. So do we at CUNY. Okay? And the dock workers to unite together to shut it down. Now I want to say a couple more real quick things. I thought what Brother Chris Silvera said about the flim-flam is really important. This Democratic Party scam, flim-flam, all right? Now this is not the first time that the Democratic Party has busted a strike or tried to. Jimmy Carter invoked the Taft-Hartley law against the coal miners, right? My father-in-law was a coal miner, and they used to say you can't dig coal with bayonets. And you can't run the trains with bayonets either. So let me ask you a question. Is Joe Biden a strike breaker? Yes. Is the Congress of the United States strike breakers? Yes. Is the Democratic Party strike breakers? Yes. Well, what about the so-called squad? Are we going to remain silent about that? No. Are we going to remain silent about the DSA squad that voted for this? No. Hell no! We need to break from the Democrats and the Republicans and build a fighting workers' party. And then we will take over the whole damn country and the world. Workers to power.
Solidarity, solidarity. Solidarity. We still have some more speakers. Did you forget why we're out here? Did you live by our labor? And in return, when we get sick, because we're not robots, we're human. And we demand sick time. We demand it. Now that I have Brother Matt coming. Brother Matt is from Local 9, and Brother Matt, come on up, Brother Matt, and share some solidarity words with our sisters and brothers that are out here. Brother Matt.
Thank you very much. My name is Matt Mitchell. I'm the General Chairman for the Association of Commuter Rail Employees, Local Division 9. I represent the locomotive engineers right here at Metro North.
Yes.
And I want to echo the sentiments of the speakers before me, Chris Silvera, and the representatives of the airlines. They have to understand what everybody here is coming out for, right? Human rights, sick time, benefits. How are you supposed to support your family with all of that? Okay, we need this. We support everybody, from the Amazon workers to Starbucks and everybody in between. We understand that unionism, solidarity is the only way that we're going to be able to make it as Americans in this country. That's right. That's it. And if we don't have that, you're on the outside looking in. And so we need to stand together. We need to support each other. I won't take up any more of your time, but we are here for our freight brothers out west, in the Northeast, and everywhere else in between, to let them know that we're with you. We want to support you, and we want to stand behind you, and make every effort available to you to say that we expect this to take place sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Yeah. got Brother Ed Valente. Brother Ed Valente from Local 1. Come on up, brother.
Thank you all for being here in solidarity together. This wasn't just about money, right? This wasn't just about work rules. This was about precision railroading, precision scheduling. This was about a stricter attendance policy implemented during the heart of a pandemic, the worst pandemic since 1918. This was about holding our elected leaders accountable. We need to hold our elected leaders accountable. We need to be here and say we need more of the Democratic Party. We need our ability to fight back. We need the right to strike. We need the right to strike put back by the Democrats and the Republicans. And rallies like this is a good start. And Acre is here. I am here in solidarity with those freight unions and all other unions who don't have basic human rights like sick time. Thank you.
And let me just say
Look at the power.
a couple of words on solidarity.
Look at the power.
Since the pandemic hit us in this country, workers did not back down. Workers, like most of us, that we knew all along, that we were essential to this economy, that we mattered to this economy, and guess what? Nothing moves or get done without us. We knew that before the pandemic.
That's right.
We understood the power in workers is that if we don't come to work, nothing moves in this city. That's what we have to make sure, brothers and sisters, that we understand. Because the bosses really do understand it. They really do. Joe Biden understood it. And so what's important is us being out here. We could not be silent. Because if we were silent, that meant you agreed with the federal government.
Yeah, we would be complicit. That's right.
And so we're out here tonight just making a simple statement. And that is a show of solidarity to those railroad workers.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Now, I'm a transit worker. In 2005, we took the ultimate plunge. And we struck against the Taylor law. And we were fine. But we understood our worth. And sometimes, whether it's a law, we understand and we got the power of the people that we will win.
The law is unjust.
So I don't care about no legislation.
That's right.
When you understand that we are essential, put legislation together that works on behalf of workers. Now understand, we are essential. Amazon, Starbucks, it's a disgrace for legislation not to be enacted against the bosses that don't come to the table when you have a workforce that say we want to be unionized. And so on this evening, brothers and sisters, this is not just about railroad workers, this is about every worker across every industry.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's what solidarity looks like.
That's right.
And if they break one of us, when we come to the table in any one of our contracts, we will not get our demands. And so tonight was critically important for workers. This is a huge win for workers, showing workers believe in solidarity. Oh yes we do.
Yes, we do.
And so, as we begin to wrap up, we want to show our power. Because we believe when we take to the street, I understand that marching is the way we accomplish so much. And we intend to lead in a march. We want to show our power. And so we are going to walk through this terminal. Because we understand that everybody that's commuting is a worker. Because the bosses and the CEOs, they're in their limousines. They're not on the trains. So we want to just show our power. We want to show our power. And so I want to just make sure that we're well represented, that we missed anybody from any union that did not get a chance to come and show their support and a word of solidarity. Can you just please, just run up here real quick, just run here. Just run right up here. Local 3 is gonna bring some words of solidarity.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. We're in uncharted times. We have a pandemic that we've been dealing with for some time, COVID-19. We know that the President Biden, was tested positive this year for COVID-19. He was, for 5 days, he was quarantined. 3 days later, after they cleared him, they called it a rebound. And he had to get quarantined again, according to CDC guidelines. The President of the United States has unlimited sick time, okay? So, when you think about it, he also took a ride on Amtrak with CNN. And one of the things that he talked about with CNN was, and the conductors calculated that he took over 8,200 trips from Delaware to Washington on Amtrak, which is a train, right? They said that it was a total of 217 miles round trip. So you would think that once he became president and we have these lovely railroad workers, they would say, hip hip hooray, Joe's gonna come and save the day. Because if there's anybody that should understand the value of the railroad workers, was somebody who ditched his car for railroad transportation, okay? But he didn't do that. But what he did say in the interview on January 20th, 2017, with CNN intact, what he did say is that he looks at the windows, and he said, and he made sure that he said, I'm very serious about this, I'm sincere about this. I look in the windows, and I look in the light, and I wonder what is being said in those households that I pass each and every day. Well, you don't have to wonder anymore. They're talking about sick time. They're talking the same people that carted you back and forth from 1972 until you left the Senate. All right? These people that befriended you to make sure that you had a safe transportation back and forth, you no longer have to worry about and wonder what they're thinking about, because they came and told you they want sick days. They want 7 sick days. They don't want to be treated special. They just want to be treated like everybody else. They want to be treated humane. To have a sick day is humane. What is inhumane is to force people to make a decision on paying their bills and maybe terminating other people, or even worse, getting more sick, as happened with it, as was the case with him when he had the rebound. So what we say to Joe Biden is not, we tell him to evolve and resolve. To evolve and resolve. To evolve and resolve. Evolve, we evolved as a people due to the pandemic, due to circumstances, and we ask him to resolve it. Because nobody knows and can appreciate the railroad more than him. Thank you.
I want to mention that Karl Marx, who was one of the greatest leaders of the working class, said, we have nothing to lose but our chains. Workers of the world unite. Well, the chains that are around us are those that the bureaucracy has put on us. That's put around our legs, that's put around our brains. And this is the railroad workers' problem right now, because their union leadership has put chains around them so that they were, had they struck already, this would have not been an issue. But the fact is that their union leadership is just like mine. We have so much in common. The union leadership at CUNY does nothing to fight the Taylor Law. In fact, they support the Taylor Law, because then, if we were about to go out and strike, they would have to deal with us. The other thing is, if you're a part-time worker at CUNY, you also don't have sick leave. So over the summer, I broke my leg. I'm a part-time worker. I had no sick leave. I had no disability. We're all in the same boat together. We all need to unite as the working class because we have power. Our power has been demonstrated time and again, and this is definitely true of the railway workers who can shut the country down from one end of the country to the other. They can shut it down, they can shut down the supply chain, and that's why the bourgeoisie is in opposition to them going out on strike. That's why our bosses, who are the Democratic Party in New York, those are our bosses, are opposed to us going out on strike. And so we have many, many things in common. We have the ability to shut things down. We have the ability to change the whole society around. We need to fight for a Labor Party. I'm from an organization called the United Front Committee for a Labor Party. We have to stop trusting in the Democratic Party. How many times do we have to be screwed by these people? And our leaders say, oh wait, don't negotiate yet. We have to get the Democrats in before we negotiate. And yet, we don't have a contract. Our contract is up in February. Most of the city unions are up, and we will not be able to strike because we have the chains that are binding us because of the union bureaucrats. We are made to feel weak. We are made to feel separate, but look around. We are from all different unions. We are all together, and we have the ability to shut the country down. So let's follow what Mark says, and workers of the world unite. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Hello, I'm Emma. I am a member of the UFT. I'm a high school English special education teacher, member of Left Voice, and I am so excited to see so many people here. So, as a public sector worker in New York City, I'm not going to be the first one nor the last one to say, fuck the Taylor Law. Fuck it. Like, our contract ended in September. PSCs is ending soon. All of these public sector contracts are ending, and they are trying to intimidate us from striking, but we're going to say, we're not afraid. We are not afraid. So secondly, I just wanted to say that many speakers here have made it super clear, we cannot trust the Democratic Party. We cannot trust the Democratic Party. Just 3-4 weeks ago, they told us that we should vote for them so that they could protect us. And look what they did. As soon as people around this country voted for the Democrats, they sold working people out time and time and time again. They've done it in the past. They're going to keep doing it. So, again, I'm not the only one here who said that we need our own party that's going to fight for us as working people. We need our own party that's going to fight for not just our workplace issues, yes, for sick leave, yes, absolutely. We need better pay, we need more sick leave, we need lives outside of our workplace. I know as a teacher it's super hard to have a life outside of the workplace. But we need our movement to fight for more than that too. To fight saying that Black lives matter. To fight saying that trans lives matter. We've seen around the world and around the country, oh my gosh, around the country, the striking education workers in California right now, solidarity with them. The striking workers in Iran,
Thank you, sister. One more speaker. We got the nurses.
Hi, my name is Judy Gonzalez. I'm a proud member of the New York State Nurses Association. Well, you know, we definitely believe that paid sick days is a human right. We get paid sick days, but when we use them, they discipline us. So that's what happens to people that have sick days. And we get sick, nurses get sick, and during the pandemic, we got real sick. And the hospitals did not protect us. Our employers do not protect us. We have these so-called not-for-profit organizations that behave just like for-profit organizations. And right now, 17,000 nurses in the city of New York are trying to negotiate contracts that are going to expire at the end of December. And what's happening? The employers want to cut our health benefits. We believe that healthcare is a human right and everybody should have the right to healthcare. We believe that our patients deserve the best care possible. I work in the Bronx, which is number 62 in the state in terms of their health statistics. And our patients do not get the care they receive. They don't get the care that patients in Westchester receive and patients who go to wealthier hospitals receive. So you have to look out. We may all be on strike in January for the same thing, for health care, for human rights, and for all the things that matter to all working people. Thank you so much.
Exercise your discipline. Free of bread only.
There we go.
Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. 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 Strike breakers, no. It's our human right. Fight, fight, fight. Sick days are 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 human right. No. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Rail 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 workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Rail 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 workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. What? Rail workers, yes. You gotta beat the deal. Strike breakers, no. Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no. Railway workers, yes. Strike breakers, no.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Never give out.
Never give out.
We will win.
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 Straight ahead.
Well, workers' response should be to go out on strike and stop believing in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is the bane of the workers' existence, and it's pushed on us by our union leadership to say, oh, you know, these guys are going to save us. They're coming on their white horses. Don't do anything until they get into office, and then they're going to blah, 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 blah. We should learn by now that the Democratic Party has been the party that promises but only delivers pain. And so workers have to say, enough is enough. It's time to organize our own party, an independent workers' party, and we're going to go out on strike. And we can see, just from this demonstration alone, how many different unions support us because we're all in it together. We all have the same needs, should have the same rights, and we don't. And I think that the railway workers could be confident that if they go out on strike, then we'll all be there for them.
Absolutely. Do you think that Biden and the politicians made it, they're more interested in a strong holiday season economically than they are about labor rights and fair working conditions?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that they don't care about working conditions and they don't care about labor, and we're only there to make sure that the bosses make profit. That's our purpose in life, is for the bosses to make profit. And, no matter what Biden calls himself, the labor president or whatever, it's clearly never been the case. The guy is a war hawk. He led us into the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. He works for the credit card companies who are big business. It's clear that we have to reject the Democratic Party and start claiming power for ourselves and not hope that these liars will be, they're not even labor traitors. They have nothing to do with labor. The traitors are the bureaucrats who tell us to believe in them, but what we need to do is believe in ourselves and start mobilizing as the working class and shutting everything down.
Carol Ling, right?
So I understand why he did what he did. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. However, he also had another path. But they knew that they were going to stick it to these workers. And that's why they split the 7 sick days away from the return to work bill, because they knew one would pass and one would fail. And what workers have to take away from this is that at the end of the day, whether they're Democrats or they're Republicans, they're all in service to the boss and not to the workers. But the workers have to look at this as injustice. And so, like John Lewis would say, we have to get involved with good trouble. And this is a moment that calls for good trouble, the type of trouble that would lead to a general strike, the type of struggle that would lead to these guys getting the sick days that they deserve, that they have earned for 100 years of working in the heat, the dust. The number one killer of railroad workers is silica dust, from breathing the dust from the rocks that they breathe every day. That's the number one killer. And it's a travesty that our government in America, in a post-pandemic, would see fit not to give out some sick days. It's criminal.
So do you think that politicians are more concerned about having a big holiday season economically rather than being concerned about labor rights and fair working conditions?
And they don't. To me, they align, right? You could give the workers sick days and still have a great Christmas. There'll still be a multi-billion. It's 2% of profit. Right now, the railroads are the most profitable industry in America. 50 cents on every dollar is profit, right? So all you're gonna do is give away 2 cents, right? You can't live on 48 cents profit? Something is wrong with the system. Something's wrong with a society that could look at workers and think that they don't deserve sick days, particularly in a post-pandemic environment. There are railroad workers that had COVID and did not get any, home for 2 weeks with no pay. That's a travesty. And workers, this should be the moment when workers decide that this is the time to have a national strike and shut this system down. And I think that seeing those Southwest pilots here tells me that the workers are ready. These were not young guys, these weren't 25, 26. These are grown-ass men with families, and they saw the need to be here. That's how powerful this moment is. Chris Silvera. Right.
Absolute content. And workers should be walking away from the two billionaire-owned parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Now, Biden has proven to anyone with two eyes that both parties are the same. They're run by the same billionaires. He's supposed to be the most pro-union. president maybe ever. That's what he claims, and he's the most anti-union president ever. He's virtually busted the union, one of the most powerful unions in the country that controls a huge amount of goods throughout the country, has tremendous power and impact, and that will ricochet down through labor from the top to the bottom and hurt all of us, Now, if the rail workers are ready, if they're able, they should walk out and really strike, and strike hard. And all the rest of the unions in this country need to stand behind them and denounce the strike breaking by Joe Biden and his cohorts in the Democratic and Republican Party. You're a strike breaker, Biden, a strike breaker.
Can I get your name?
Marty Goodman.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Ike Naham. I'm a retired locomotive engineer for Amtrak. I used to drive high-speed trains up and down the Northeast Corridor for 20 years or so, and before that I worked in freight, and I'm here basically to show solidarity with my, even though I'm retired now about 5-6 years, to show solidarity with my brothers and sisters on the railroad industry who are working under much worse conditions than they were bad when I worked, with things like extra boards, no paid sick days, at the beck and call of the industry. All these issues that have, in the conditions that were ushered in with the pandemic, have mushroomed. So the conditions, as bad as they were when I was working, are much worse now. And these companies, they feel they're so cheap, even though they're raking in huge profits, they feel that it's cheaper for them to throw some money because, the contract includes, although it's still below inflation, more of a wage increase than most workers are getting in the United States. And they figure it's cheap, and they get lots of overtime. If they're not, don't drop dead, you can work a lot of overtime under this new supposed contract that's being imposed by Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans. But they figure it's cheaper to just pay a lot of overtime because they don't want to hire new workers at union wages, which are, even that has been reduced. There's now tiers, but even at 75%, it's still more than they want to pay workers, even the elite crafts like what my craft was, the engineers and the conductors and all of those. But even those, that you can't have a life. And these guys are saying no, and I'm with them 100%. I think the response is universally disgust and dismay among the union officialdom, which has a stake in selling this contract that they negotiated with Biden. And you have to understand, this is the end of a 2-3 year process, because while the Railway Labor Act doesn't formally proscribe workers from striking, it's so difficult, it's such a labyrinth that you have to go through, where there's cooling off periods and there's all kinds of stuff. So this has come at the end of a long process by which the company stonewalled on these issues that were the most important to workers, more important than the money, and they stonewalled on that. And so Biden, at the end, when there was a possibility, they had a legal framework to strike even for a couple of days before what they usually do is throw out a court injunction and force people to go back to work. That's the pattern in America since the Railway Labor Act was passed in 1924. So he went out of his way to do that with the Republican support. So I think workers are pretty angry at that. But at the same time, this is something that the union officials really have a stake in defending, and they're selling it hard. And Biden is trying to cover his tracks and saying, oh, I tried to get the sick days subsequently with an amendment, which they all knew would fail because it had to get 60 votes. So, and it also, by the way, another interesting from the point of view of Biden and the Democrats, supposedly the great friends of labor, they gave an opening for these ultra right-wing, union-hating politicians like Ted Cruz, never said a good word about a union in his life, or Josh Hawley, to pose as supporters of unions. It's just crazy. I think the most important thing for them, because this came to a head before the midterm elections, in their mentality, which I think is bogus, but in their mentality, the disruption of that, which the Republicans, I guess they would have pinned them on them or whatever, but it's a bipartisan thing. The main thing, if you strip away all the demagogy, the main thing is that they do not want workers, especially in this period, post-pandemic, where you have the victory of the Amazon workers in Staten Island, you got even Starbucks workers, even the lowliest paid workers are fighting, for unionization, and this is spreading. In a period like this, the last thing they want is for the powerful battalions of labor, the most weighty that have the most social weight in basic industries, that have the power to even shut down the country for a day, that have the power and would have won support. In the UK, even much worse, if we can digress. I don't know how much tape you got to run, but the UK's had a round of strikes, and they have not yet been able to pass legislation, although the Tory government wants to and is trying to prevent workers from going out on strike. The Railway Labor Act, like I said, it doesn't formally make it illegal for workers to strike, but in essence, it's almost impossible. But even in that tiny window, Biden and the Republicans and the Democrats were determined to prevent that in the name of economic stability, in the name of, whatever they want to say. It was really a good contract, except for this one good thing, because they gave some money, even though it's below inflation, but that's not what people are angry about, So even under those conditions, it was too much. They did not want an example for the working class as a whole, including workers that are not in unions, that polls show a majority would like to be in a union.
What's the solution?
Well, politically, the solution is for workers to have their own political voice, which we don't have now, right now, and this shows it again. The capitalists, big money boys, the hedge fund owners, the big oil monopolies, whatever you want to say, the 1% they used to call it way back when, it's really more like 2 or 3%, but whatever. They have both political parties. They have differences amongst each other, but believe me, the biggest capitalists give money to both parties, and they say so. I think we need, out of these struggles that are brewing post-COVID, I think there will be more and more voices that'll say, why do we vote for people that shaft us? Anybody that thinks at this point in history that the Democratic Party is going to be the party of labor or of the environment, I mean, it's an illusion, But when people wake up from that illusion, because a lot of workers have illusions in both parties, sometimes they hold their nose and vote for both because it seems like one is a little bit less bad than the other, or most of them don't even bother to vote. Most Americans in general, whatever their class, don't even bother to vote because they're alienated from the whole process. If a fighting labor movement would begin to get political and run candidates for office independently, regular people, nurses, teachers, whatever, I think that would be very popular in the United States.